Hello and welcome to another week of Full Tuck, the Wingspan podcast, with me, Aidan.
And me, Adam. Nice to be back.
Yeah, isn't it? Yeah.
It's good to be back 2 weeks in a row, face to face, isn't it?
It's good. Back to the standard format. So, how's your week been? Much Wingspan?
It's been good. Has been quite a lot of Wingspan, actually. A bit with my parents at the weekend. Harriet obviously won those games, as she always does with my parents.
Does, yeah.
And quite a bit online. What about you?
Not so. A few online games. We've had an online game.
Yeah, I actually wanted to talk to you this week. You've been a very good friend. You have, yeah. Well, you know, I've been in my bit of a rut in terms of Wingspan form recently.
You have.
I have. It's very nice of you. You've been such a good friend to me this week, letting me beat you by, I think, as a whole, like 39 points in that game we just played.
I don't remember that game.
Oh, do you want me to get it up?
No, it's okay.
Beat you at your own game as well, making a little water chain.
I did notice. It was very impressive tuck chain.
I bet you were impressed. So I'd like to thank you for that. And then obviously there's this 3-player game that we've got with Paul at the moment, which I'm absolutely romping to victory as well.
Do you think?
You two. So
do you really think?
You're a good friend. You know when I'm down. You know how to pick me up. So
hey, look, you can't win them all.
No, you can't.
How did you get on in that game with Jeff?
I think didn't win, but no. Yeah. So, but no. Regardless, you need occasionally
selective memory.
You need occasionally a sacrificial lamb, don't you, or a bunny? Okay. It's like, listeners, do you have a bunny that any time you play against Wingspan, you're playing them in Wingspan, you always beat them? Do you
Is
have
that what you're claiming right now?
Do you have that person? And
unbelievable.
If so, do you want to start an international podcast with them?
That's absolutely outrageous.
No,
for a man that loves stats, that is completely unfounded.
Founded this week, I would say. Very founded this week. No, it's it's been good. I feel like I'm exiting my rut, which is good. Good
that
news.
Is nice.
Got my high score at the weekend.
Yeah,
as
you
well,
did, didn't you? Yeah.
With my mum and Haz.
Excellent stuff.
So that was. I'm back.
Yeah.
I'm back, but I feel not confident. I don't know if all of this talk about Wingspan, because we're talking about it more, aren't we? Now,
yeah, of course
we are.
Yeah.
If I think about it more, and I'm playing now that I play online as well, I'm playing 8 or 9 games at once. I'm just cycling through so many more games, and I've just had a crisis of confidence in general in terms of, do I stick with my normal tactics or do I pivot onto the draw cards tactics as per Flan? Flan has really affected both of us, hasn't he?
So do you know what? It's interesting.
Tactically.
Oh, because I was thinking about exactly this. I think that I don't know if it's necessarily a crisis of confidence, but I think it's just I'm starting to think about tactics in a different way. And there are certain birds that I've traditionally only ever played in one habitat or only ever played to build a certain chain or used in a particular way. And I'm starting to think about using in different ways.
Yeah.
And starting to think about, ways that you might use them or people like Flan might use them. And it does make me play things in a different way. And I suppose that's a good thing.
Yeah.
And inevitably, there's going to be a period of maybe having some shocker games when you're using cards in a way that you're not really used to and you're not used to those kinds of combinations.
Yeah.
And I guess maybe there's a part of the fan-made packs in that as well, in that there's all these new birds, which we agree are very powerful.
Yeah.
But it's going to take a bit of getting used to find, figure out how they work, where they work best, combinations you can use them with. So, but it's good fun. It's good fun trying out new ways of doing things. Definitely,
Yeah, definitely.
Played the bush tit in the forest for the first time ever.
Yeah, which is my go-to use of the bush tit. So bush tit is tuck a card to lay an egg, and it can live anywhere, but it's got 5 egg capacity,
and it's star nest as well.
It's star nest, so yeah,
unbelievable. It's a wetlands. I mean, it's probably one of my favourite birds in the game. I think
it's a wetlands banker.
It's a wetlands banker that goes in the wetlands always.
We've never spoken about our favourite birds or our top left field birds, and it's something that Paul has asked us a few times.
He has.
What are your left field birds? We should cover that another time.
Yeah, we'll definitely cover that.
What are our favourite / left field birds?
Yeah, as in birds that aren't, your typical, not your Benelli's eagles or your Great Indian Bustards, but other ones.
Hold on, last week you criticised Benelli's eagle, and you said in Beast. I'm not letting you get away with that. You criticised last week. You said maybe the most controversial thing I think that's ever been said on this podcast, which is Benelli's eagle and Eastern Imperial eagle are no longer powerful birds.
I think
now that is unfounded.
I think what I meant is I don't feel that they're as universally powerful as they once were. I think there are other birds which are now at least on par or above them, whereas there was certainly a time, I think maybe when it was just the original game in European, where they were unmatched. They were unmatched. And now that food's become more plentiful and therefore the fact that you don't have to pay food costs for Benellis in the Eastern Imperial Eagle becomes less of an issue, then I think there are other birds that are becoming stronger.
Listeners, write in if you agree with Aidan, because I don't think I can entertain this.
I
need to see what we need to see what you guys think. Yeah. So this week we are, apart from squabbling, we're going to do Return of the Stats segment.
Yeah, lovely.
But it's going to be 2 mini stats segments. Okay, nothing too heavy. Maybe just a little bit about our listeners.
Yeah,
and a little bit about the different expansions. Then I think we're going to do a couple of maybe a quick fan response. We'll talk about some team play, which makes me uneasy.
Yeah, it's not your way of playing Wingspan, isn't it? This has come from some flock modes that I've played recently with some of our friends, which have we played in a slightly different format, and we'll go into that in a bit later on.
And then, I've got a point I want to raise about the map, actually, the tableau, and we'll see if because we need some listener feedback on that. But before all of that, it's the end of the year. It's time for reflection, and I'm sure many of you are getting your Spotify Wrapped for the year. Sorry. And we've received ours today, actually. So, Aidan, I want to ask you, how well do you know our fans? So, our fans in general are mainly from the US and UK. I'd say that's about 2/3 of our fans. And the majority are between the age of 28 to 44. Okay, that's about 70% of our fans. Okay, but our Spotify Wrapped. Thank you all for listening this year, by the way. Thank you for all your comments. We've had some lovely Spotify Wrapped comments and feedback in terms of apparently our show is shared more than 98% of all other shows on Spotify, which is surprising to me.
Yeah.
We are just a small little show talking about birds, but we are well shared. But how well do you know your fans, Aidan, is the question I would like to know. So, of all of our fans, what is the top musical artist amongst all of our fans?
Of any artist?
Of any artist.
I'm trying to think of something that's birds related.
So you've got to remember that our fans are this sort of 28 to 44.
Yeah.
They are majority UK and US, and I'd say it's about 60-40 male-female.
Okay. Well, I was going to say Taylor Swift, but I think the male-female split has thrown me off that slightly. I'm going to go with... Who's big in that age bracket? I'm going to go with Lewis Capaldi.
Interesting. Not even the top 5.
Okay.
Taylor Swift would have been right, though.
Taylor Swift is correct.
Taylor Swift was correct.
There you go.
Yeah. Taylor Swift, then Olivia Dean, then Sabrina Carpenter.
Of course. Yeah.
I suppose it levels that very famous artists are also going to be.
Inevitably. It's a numbers game, ultimately.
Okay, then, with that in mind, then, who is the top podcast shows amongst our fans? Now, actually, we've got a reasonable number of you. There's about 30 of you that we are your top podcast. So that's very kind of you for listening to us.
And also, thank you. Bear in mind, we've been around since, September? That's incredible. So thank you very much.
God, I haven't even thought about that. We're competing against people who have been around for all year, haven't we?
I know. Imagine what we'll achieve next year.
Well, we'll see. What do you think the top podcast is?
Well, I know the top podcast in the UK is The Rest is Politics. So I would throw that out there.
Okay, not in the top 5. Is it the top podcast in the UK?
It's the top podcast in the UK.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah. Off Menu.
That's number 3.
Okay.
I don't know how big that is in the US.
No, it's not, but it is a very big, and it's entertainment related.
Yeah, Off Menu podcast for the listeners, 2 UK comedians, so Ed Gamble and James Acaster, get a guest on every week, and they talk about their dream menu, don't they?
Yeah, dream food menu, starter, main, dessert, drink.
Do you think other podcasts advertise us on their podcast for free as well?
Do you think Off Menu advertise us on theirs?
Yes.
They should.
Yeah,
James Acaster, please do.
Yeah, if you're listening. It wouldn't surprise me if you like Wingspan.
Yeah, true.
It really wouldn't surprise me. Okay, so he's number 3.
Yeah.
What do you think number 1 is? To be honest, I've not actually ever heard of number 2. But
really? You've heard of number 1?
Yeah. Big podcast.
Big podcast.
Massive. Probably the biggest in the world.
Oh, am I having a thick moment here? Go on, tell me.
Not big in the UK.
Put me out my misery.
Not big in the UK.
Not big in the UK.
But very big in the US, I believe.
It's not Joe Rogan, is it?
It is. It's the Joe Rogan podcast. The Joe Rogan Experience
massive,
is the top show. So, yeah. Joe Rogan, if you're listening and you want a bit of advertising, if you want to come on the show, you're more than welcome.
We'll have a game.
Yeah, we'll have a game if you play Wingspan. And yeah, you can come on our show.
Or if not, you'll have a good chance of beating Adam anyway.
I'm just going to edit that and snip that Adam to Aidan.
The man with the pen. Yeah, the man with the pen.
Good chance of beating Adam. No respect. Unbelievable, that is. Yeah, dear me. So anyway, yeah, thanks for listening, everyone. It really, I think it still blows our mind that so many of you actually want to listen to us.
It does, yeah.
Actually talk about the game. Obviously, we know the game's a popular game, but still, it's another thing to commit to listening to someone for 45 minutes a week, isn't it?
Yeah, and, you know, I'm sure it's very British of us, but we instinctively think that no one cares what we think, so it's quite nice to think that at least a few people do.
Well, it might be the case that still no one cares what we think, because we do. It's only our feedback from the emails is disagreeing with some of our
sometimes
takes.
Yeah. Although I bet there's a few silent Cooper's Hawk haters out there.
Cooper's Hawk's really getting some heat at the moment, isn't it?
Of course, yeah, rightly so.
Cooper's Hawk took me to one of my victories over you recently, Aidan, so I have nothing to say. But I suppose that doesn't narrow it down. Out of all the many victories I'm having at the moment,
really going for it today.
We are sorry. Speaking of victories, shall we pivot onto this opening hand that I had? And now, I mean, this opening hand is absolutely gold. So for those that haven't looked at it, it is. You have options to go any direction here, and that's what the feedback, certainly in the responses, has shown so far. So if I briefly read out the birds. So this is a 3-player game. You're going first. In your opening hand, you have the rook, which only lives in the grasslands, eats 1 of anything. It's 1 point. It's a brown when activated power. Cache 1 food from your supply on this bird, or tuck 1 card from your hand behind this bird. If you do either, tuck 1 card from the deck behind this bird. Second is the American Avocat, only lives in the wetlands. It costs 2 witchy grubs and a wheat, 6 points. It's a pink once between turns power. When another player takes the lay eggs action, this bird lays 1 egg on another bird with a pebbles nest. Third, the Eurasian Coot, which only lives in the wetlands. It costs 1 wheat, is worth 4 points. It's a brown when activated power. Tuck up to 3 cards from your hand behind this bird. And then fourth is the white stork, which lives in the wetlands or the grasslands, eats a witchy grub, a fish, and an anything. 8 points, platform nest, brown when activated power. Discard all remaining face-up cards and refill the tray. If you do, draw 1 of the new face-up cards. Lastly is the belted kingfisher, which is a wetlands-only bird. It eats a fish and an anything. It's worth 4 points. It's a pink once between turns power. When another player plays a wetlands bird, gain 1 fish from the supply.
And then bonus cards, we've got the Wildlife Gardener, which is birds with bowl nests. 4 to 5 birds gets you 4 points, and 6+ birds gets you 7. And the Mechanical Engineer, which is sets of the 4 nest types. 1 set is 3 points, and 2 sets is 8 points.
And then in the tray is the common chiffchaff, which lives in the wetlands or the forest. It eats a witched grub or a wheat or a cherry. It's worth 3 points. Brown when activated power. Choose 1 to 5 birds in this habitat. Tuck 1 from your hand behind each bird. Second is the Mississippi Kite. It lives in the grasslands or the forest. Eats a witched grub or a rat. It's worth 4 points. Brown when activated. Roll all dice not in the bird feeder. If any are rats, gain 1 rat and cache it on this card. And lastly is the coal tit, which only lives in the trees. It costs a witchy grub and a wheat. It's worth 2 points, and it's also a brown when activated power. Gain 1 wheat from the supply and cache it on this card. At any time, you may spend the wheat cached on this card.
And then end of round goals, we've got eggs in pebble nests, eggs in the forest, food cost to played birds, and birds in 1 row.
It's a good hand, isn't it?
Do you know what? It is a good hand, but it's not completely straightforward about what to do. I think there's a few directions you can go with this.
Oh yeah, definitely.
So yeah, I mean, I know. So for the listener, this is the hand that you got dealt, right?
Yes, and I got dealt in a 3-player game with you and Paul, which we are nearing the completion of at the moment.
Yeah. So it's interesting that we'll see we'll ask you what you did do in a minute, which will be interesting to see. The things that stick out at me, Mechanical Engineer is a no-brainer on the bonus card.
Yes.
So I'm that's a decision made without even having to look at the hand.
The sets of the 4 nest types, yeah. Yeah.
So that's easy. And the other things that stick out of me are in the hand, the white stalk is an absolute no-brainer, which would be, I'm definitely keeping that. And
so that's discard all remaining face up and refill the tray if you do draw one of the new cards.
But it's an 8-pointer.
8 points.
Most important, it's an 8-pointer. And then the other thing that sticks out to me is the end of round goal. So you've got the first 2 are eggs centric, and then you've got food cost to play birds and birds in a row. So what that's screaming out to me is build an egg chain. Because it's eggs and birds in a row. That says build a chain, fill it with eggs. I have said before, I think birds in one row is a round 4 end of round goal. Usually will mean there's a draw because multiple people will fill their rows. So that's what I am. Those are the thoughts that are going through my head. What I would actually do.
I am shocked.
I know. So I'm still quite torn though. I think the other thing
you're going first.
Yeah.
Okay, you've got the Eurasian coot in hand. Tuck up to 3 from your hand behind this bird, and you've got the chiff chaff in the tray.
Yeah.
So you.
Those two don't work together.
No, what I'm saying is they're screaming wetland chain, and for a man who's so wetland chain heavy, that's what I'm surprised.
So that's my dilemma. My dilemma is currently either keeping the rook and the white stork and making that the basis of a grasslands chain, and then hoping that I would at some point pick up a forest bird with the white stork, reset the tray to start getting a way of getting food. That's one tactic. The other tactic would be to keep the Eurasian coot and the white stork and to use that as the basis for a wetlands chain, and again hope that you're picking up a forest bird, but then you're also going to need a way to get eggs. And I think on the basis of the end of round goals, I'm going to go for the grasslands chain option. So I'm keeping the rook and the white stork. The Eurasian coot is a good card because it's a very cheap 4-pointer and cheap way of getting 3 points every activation, but I don't know, there are other cards that are equivalent which are tuck 3 and gain something, or tuck 1 and gain an egg, or whatever it is, whereas the Eurasian coot doesn't give you that extra bonus.
Agreed.
And so you need other cards that basically facilitate it, and the same goes for the common chiff chaff.
I was about to say, which is a better bird then, the chiff chaff or the coot?
I think the chiff chaff is, because if you set up the right chain you can get up to 5 points per activation, whereas the coot gets you up to 3, and so I think the chiff chaff is better simply for that reason.
But the coot, if you play it early, with the chiff chaff you can only tuck as many cards you have in your wetlands, whereas the coot you can be tucking up to 3.
Oh, you could tuck 3 from the start.
From the start.
But from the start you're never going to have enough card draws to do that. No. So that's what I'm going to do. Keep the rook, keep the white stork, keep a witchetty grub, a fish, and something else. It doesn't really matter what, probably a wheat. First go is going to be play the white stork in the grasslands, get eggs, and then hopefully pick up a forest bird to play.
Blow my mind, mate. That is exactly what I did.
Is it? Oh, yeah, there you go.
I thought I was going to come under quite a lot of...
No, that's what I would do.
For not building a wetlands
I think
chain.
If the end of round goals were different and weren't so suited to a grasslands chain, I would probably go for the wetlands one, but I think given those end of round goals, that's what I'm going to go for.
Yeah, that is really interesting. So some of our fans, Francois has emailed in, he is keeping the stork, so exactly as you've done, and the American advocate as well. So that's when another player takes the lay eggs action, lay one on a sticks thing. We're going first, so he is drawing the cold tit and the chiff chaff, and so then he's going to play the cold tit in the forest so that he gets plenty of food. Yeah, he's going to play the chiff chaff in the wetlands, and then ideally he's going to get the stork out to start building that wetlands chain there, and then he'll have the advocate to give him some eggs eventually, and then he's basically said, I'm working to extend that wetlands engine.
Yeah, nice.
Which is effectively what I expected you to do. But interestingly, he's not taking the Eurasian coot, he's picking up the chiff chaff. He's expending a go to turn down the coot to pick up the chiff chaff instead.
I suppose if you're already expending a go because you want to pick up the cold tit to have a bird in the forest, which I think is a very reasonable first go, then you almost might as well get the one which is slightly better.
Wow, interesting. So Lisa is keeping the rook and the Eurasian coot. So the rook is tuck or cash a card from yourself to then tuck one from the deck, and the coot, which is tuck 3 from your hand. First turn getting the common chiff chaff. I'll be working on a water chain, is what she says. So she's got a lot of tucking potential, but needs some card draw there, doesn't she?
Yeah.
We had Paul as well. What's Paul?
So Paul's gone for the coot, the rook, and the white stork.
Similar to what you've done, but keeping the Eurasian coot as well.
Keeping the Eurasian coot and using, again, similar to Francois, is using a nectar to pick up the cold hit and the chiff chaff. And he said, going to Aiden it up and get a water chain going if possible. Well, Paul, Aiden is not water chaining it up.
And your verb now to Aiden something up is to make a wetlands chain. How does that feel?
Yeah, well, I
think that's your wingspan legacy.
So again, going back to what we said earlier
not our international podcast, is it?
But it is, I've definitely always favoured a water chain. I still do. Let's be honest. Look, if I'm playing a game and there's any potential for me to start a water chain, it's happening. But I think it goes back to what we were saying earlier about recently. I have been finding that there are, like, I'm trying out other ways of doing it, and I've in particular recently I've been finding particular luck with building egg chains. And for example, I had one game online. I had one game online with Paul the other day, and I just had a really well worked egg chain, and it just kept racking up the points. And it's like, I think you've said this before, the beauty of an egg chain is you just feel like you're constantly getting points.
Yeah.
And also, if you've got powers that get you other stuff as well, it's like, if you've got a raven in there or whatever, like you just feel like you're getting loads of stuff and points constantly.
So this segment is rather egg on my face, because I was hoping for you to set up a water chain for then me to then say, aha, I've set up a grasslands chain and look how successful it's going. Yeah. So just at the end of the third round, I've won all 3 end of round goals between the 3 of us, and I've picked up a lovely...
I didn't realise you were winning by such a margin.
Yes, yeah. I've got the butcher bird in my grasslands as well, and then on that first reset with the white stalk, the white browed tit warbler came up. For those who don't know about the white browed tit warbler, I'd go back to one of our early episodes, might be episode 4, where I realised it might actually be one of the most undervalued birds in the game, because it gives you complete control over the bird feeder.
Particularly when you've got an egg chain going.
Exactly.
It's just,
white brown tit warbler. For each bird in your forest with an egg on it, roll any 1 dice. Choose 1 type of food you rolled and gain 1 of that food from the supply. So my forest is flush with eggs at the moment, and I'm just removing all the nectars for...
I'm gaining yourself nectar. So it's really... it's an excellent bird in that situation.
So a good great little opening hand. I think we should maybe try this more often. We should do an opening hand that we have got.
Yeah. That's a good idea.
And then... because then we can talk about how the result went.
We'll have to keep eyes out for opening hands that we've had that maybe...
I don't know if this is me, but I feel my opening hands on the app are far worse than in person. I just feel the game is so much harder on the app.
Do you think that's because there's no fan packs online and we've just gotten used to having the fan packs?
I wonder
in the
if
game
our
now?
friends are quite generous, and maybe the games that we play face to face are with 4 players most of the time.
Yeah.
Whereas online the majority are 2 players, which is a harder game.
A harder game, it definitely is, yeah. And you know, in terms of getting stuff from other players, it just doesn't really happen very much in 2-player games.
It's equally as relaxing, though, I'd say. The music in the app is brilliant. I'm constantly singing it.
It's lovely, yeah.
Although if I have one criticism, I would like them to have a few more songs. The amount of time that I play, I'm spending on this now, I cycle through the songs quite quickly.
That's true.
It's quite nice. Sometimes I'll because I've got it on the Switch, I'll plug it into the TV, then get it on the surround sound, so you just completely immerse myself in the Wingspan music. Lovely. Very calming. I recommend it, people.
Yeah, excellent.
So email in if you think you would do anything different for your opening hand, and then have a look in the show notes for next week's opening hand. It might be another good one.
Yeah, and
it might not be.
We'll update you with how Adam gets on in that game with that opening hand that he started
need.
with.
I'm so far ahead. There's absolutely no need.
Imagine if you don't win now.
Maybe we need to take a break for a few weeks. Let Emilio lie low or something.
But yeah, another cracking opening hand. We do this. We'll do this every week, so do keep an eye out for the one for next week as well. And please do write in. We do love your comments, and we'll shout you out on the programme if we're interested.
Yeah, fine. So you wanted to talk about the team play, didn't you?
Yeah, so something we've had a couple of games of recently, actually, with a few of our friends. We've ended up doing a couple of flock modes, so 6-player flock modes. So for those who don't have the Asia expansion, the flock mode is something that the Asia expansion introduced, which is a version of the game that you can play with 6 or 7 players. where effectively you have two players taking their go at the same time. And there's a kind of a wheel that cycles round to tell you whose go it is. A little bit more to keep track of, but a really excellent way of playing with higher player numbers without the game taking a hugely long length of time. Lots of player interaction. As you can imagine, pink powers are extremely powerful. So what we decided to do was play it with essentially in two teams of three. So again, for those who haven't played flock mode, you you naturally do divide the game into two. You have two bird feeders, two face-up trays, and you kind of have your half that you play to, and then the other half that the other side play to. But instead of playing fully as individuals, we decided to play as two teams of three and kind of match up what our combined scores would be at the end. It was just really fun. That's kind of why I wanted to bring it up. It was a really fun way of playing. It meant that friendly birds are like really strong, particularly ones which are choose one other player. So the first time we did this, I had in my opening hand Lewin's Honey Eater, which is a forest bird with a brown power of choose one other player, you both gain one nectar. Obviously in this game format, it just meant our team was flush with nectar.
Yeah.
We had so much extra nectar than the other team did, and obviously, every time I activated it, I was sharing that between my two teammates. It was great. And there were loads of similar birds.
It revalues birds, doesn't it? Which is what we say
Massively.
about these campaigns and why we like them. Is it revalues different birds? There's one board game called Castles of Burgundy, which has a specific co-op mode where you combine your two maps and play together on one map. And so I wonder if that is something you could consider in Wingspan. Although imagine like a 8-bird chain or a 9-bird chain if all of you play on one map. I think maybe that would get a bit too crazy.
It'd be a bit complicated.
But that just made me think about that. I think that sounds fun, doesn't it? Because it changes the game from resource scarce to resource plentiful. And I suppose then you just need card draw to get high point birds, big point birds.
Yeah, so it's certainly true. Everyone's individual scores were inflated versus normal. There were some really high scores.
I bet you logged that in your stats though still.
Oh, yes. There were some very high scores.
Where is the validity, Aidan?
Oh, that is rich.
But what?
Some of your stats over the years.
See interview with Flan.
Yeah. But no, we had some really high scores, obviously, as people were being quite generous to their own teams. But it also meant there were, particularly with some of the fan-made packs, there was, for example, bird that appeared in both games, which was draw as many bonus cards as there are players in the game, and then you choose from one of those, and then you pass them to the left. So you can imagine if you're doing this and you're the first player in your team, and then it cycles around your team.
Yeah.
Your team get a choice of 6, 5, and 4 bonus cards.
So that's different if you're the first player in your team versus if you're the third player in your team. And then almost you'd want a bird which is give a card from your hand to another player, and then you would give that to your other teammate. Exactly. Oh, that's interesting.
And so, the Western Capercaillie, which is one of Flan's British birds, which is draw 2 bonus cards, keep one and give one to another player. So you can give that to your teammate who's doing well for it. So they were just... It revalued some cards. It made some cards powerful that maybe weren't before, but it made you use cards in a slightly different way.
Did you really combined score the two sets of 3?
Yeah. So that's what we did.
What were the combined totals?
Oh,
must have been about 500 or something. More like 400 each.
It was in the 400s. The first game was a bit of a landslide for one team, where all 3 of them all were higher scores than all 3 from the other team. So it was a bit of a landslide. But the second one, the second time we did it, I think the scores were like 421 to 417. So it was really, really close. Came down to literally 4 points.
Yeah.
It was really fun. But let us know at home, have you played this kind of game?
So this is what I would really like to do, and I think it's a slightly more recognised variant.
Yeah.
Is a 4-player game where you work in 2-2s, but you sit opposite your partner.
Yeah.
And so there isn't that already inflated nature of being in a flock mode. You're just in a standard 4-player. That's a game I'd really like to try.
Yeah, we should try that
because
sometime.
I suppose then there's that balance of all players versus give to another player, isn't there? Because all players is still not that powerful.
Not at all. No.
Because you're helping your other team as well. But I think the fact that you could go alternate, and also that because in flock mode, end of round goals are not competitive, are they? So they are friendly ties. And so if you come first, you get first number points. If you come tied second, both of you come second.
Yeah.
If you come tied third, if you come third or fourth technically, you wouldn't put yourself in the fourth marker.
No,
you put yourself in the third marker.
That's true.
So that obviously upvalues the amount of points you get from end of round goals. But in the 2x2 4-player game, you don't have that, and so it makes it slightly more.
Interesting way of doing it.
Stingy, the word.
Yeah.
We should try it sometime.
Oh, we definitely should. I'm sure there are loads of other ways of doing it.
Would you rather play with me or against me?
You're not. The thing is, you're a very good wingspan player, but you're not very experienced at using friendly birds. You never use friendly birds. You avoid them like the plague.
I think most players do, if I'm honest.
I don't know. There's a few of our friends that definitely don't. But so I'm not sure. I'm not sure you'd have the familiarity with birds that you would consider to be friendly.
That game that you said was a landslide. Was that because you had Lewin's honey eater?
That was the Lewin's honey eater game.
And basically, you had so much more nectar.
Yeah, we did. I think that played a big role actually,
because nectar is so much harder to come by
in flock mode. Yeah.
Which brings me on to one of these a revelation I've had 2 weeks ago, which I've been trying to level with myself.
Go on.
And other people, and it's about the map. So when the map, I would call it the map, but the board.
The board,
okay?
yeah.
So it's about the Oceania board.
Okay.
There is no doubt that for me, the best improvement in the game has not been nectar; it's been redesigning the board.
Yeah, definitely.
So it's devaluing eggs, upvaluing the other two, but giving you the space to discard extra resources to draw extra cards, and also reset the tray and reset the bird feeder with extra food. All right. So I'm going to ask you a question. If you are making a wetlands chain, as you often do, and you've got a bird like the main duck, which allows you to tuck a bucket full of cards, but you don't have card draw, when you get up to the third and fourth and fifth slot on the card draw engine, you're allowed to do what to get an extra card? You
can discard either a nectar or an egg.
When you're in the grasslands and you're making a lovely grasslands chain, but you're struggling with eggs because Oceania has downvalued eggs, but you've got spare things floating around, what can you do to get an extra egg?
You can discard cards or food.
Okay, when you're in the trees and you need an extra food because maybe your tree chain doesn't get you enough food, you've got white powers in there, what can you do to get an extra food?
You can get rid of a card.
Why can't you get rid of an egg?
I know. It's a very good point. It's a very, very good point.
Why, Aidan? Tell me.
It's hard to know. I do wonder if this was an actively thought through thing, because it does feel strange. It's a strange omission. And you do wonder what the purpose of it is. I suppose, I don't know. I honestly don't know.
I'm absolutely certain this was play tested and
it would have been.
Planned,
it would have been.
But I don't see the downside of allowing you to throw away an egg to get an extra food. I suppose you could argue maybe you don't add it in because it would make that tree chain too powerful. But I don't think that's a valid argument because eggs are the most valuable thing in the game now.
Yeah.
So throwing away an egg to get a food is probably not that useful in most occasions. But I've certainly had a number of occasions now recently where it would have been very, very handy to do it. So if anyone knows, or if you can come up with a reason, Aidan, I'd love to hear it. 'Cause
it is interesting, isn't it? Because I suppose the concept of throwing away resources to improve an action really comes from the fact that actually one of the most powerful things to do in Wingspan is to gain out of habitat resources. And in upgrading actions, you are in fact losing out of habitat resources to gain in habitat resources.
Yeah.
So it almost feels like a counterintuitive thing to do. But, anyone who plays Wingspan a lot knows that actually you do it quite a lot, particularly in later stages of games. Because you do tend to have, in particular, I would say, you do tend to have cards in your hand that you're not planning to play. So, but yeah, it's a really good point. I do wonder why. Maybe it was, the only thing I can think is probably one of the big purposes of designing the Oceania boards in the way that they have is downgrading the grasslands chains.
Yeah.
And in fact, if they left in that you could throw away an egg for an extra food, all that really does is slightly more encourage grasslands change, whereas the purpose of it was to not encourage grasslands change.
I suppose.
So maybe that was the thinking.
I suppose also maybe they didn't know how powerful nectar was going to be. Obviously they play test things, but you don't know until it's out in the ether.
No. It's very
that
different.
much, do you? And so you could argue, well, if we do allow you to also throw away an egg to get an extra food, would that make nectar too powerful? Now, I don't think that would be the case, because I think even if I had the choice of cards or egg to throw away, I'd be throwing away the card 9 times out of 10. Because 9 times out of 10, you've got a card in your hand that is just not going to get used for anything, and can get thrown away for an extra resource. So I don't think it would change it, but that's the only explanation I can come up with.
Maybe that's why they did it. Yeah. Maybe they did it for that, because they play tested it and realised that you would almost never do it. So maybe that's why they did it.
It ruins that balance, doesn't it? One of the things in the when the Oceania book expansion came out, and for those nerds like me that read the whole thing cover to cover, they said we've balanced it out so that per column you are getting the same number of resources per column for each of the different habitats. And so I just would have, i.e. balancing it out. And so I'm surprised that it's not balanced out in the trees. So listeners, if you know, if you play tested Oceania or you have something to do with Stonemaier, I would love to know, because it stumped me this week.
Yeah, it's a very interesting point. I do wonder why. It's a very good point.
Yeah, someone must have thought about it, because we've had Oceania for 3-4 years now.
Yeah, something like that.
So I would like you to write in and let us know. We are fulltuckpodcast@gmail.com. So shall we take a quick break?
Yeah, let's do it.
And come back. That was quite a long segment, wasn't it? Right, see you in a minute, guys.
So, Adam, we've got some more stats, right?
Yeah.
Return of the stats segment.
Return of the stats segment, which is only going to be a little one, because I recognise that people aren't. Well, some people are stats fans.
I think people like it more than you
people
think.
Like the data.
Yeah.
People like
good.
to know that Joe Rogan's the most popular podcast.
Yeah.
In Wingspan. I am...
Other than Full Tuck.
Other than Full Tuck, indeed. I'm going to talk about a very quick stats thing that got posted on the r/Wingspan subreddit a couple of weeks ago from Snacksy Boy. So thank you, Snacksy Boy. Username Snacksy Boy. Snacksy Boy has done some excellent work with some stats database that is new. Well, I don't know what it is, but anyway, Snacksy Boy, who I'm presuming is male, has basically presented each of the expansions according to different breakdowns. So, for example, percentage of cards by colour in each expansion, percentage of cards by total food costs in each expansion, and that's done for each of the main expansions. Obviously, not the fan-made expansions. It's interesting because, number one, I think is a credit to the game designers for how remarkably similar all the expansions are. For example, in the egg capacity distribution, there is a line graph where the egg capacity distribution is basically exactly the same percentage of birds have a 2 egg capacity as have a 3 egg capacity as have a 4 egg capacity across the different expansions. Same with total food costs, with one notable exception. But the one thing that stood out to me, which is what I want to raise, is that the European expansion, the victory points distribution is wildly out. So for all of the other line graphs, all 4 expansions map each other really well. And so we'll put a link to this in the show notes because it's probably easier to visualize. But for all of the other expansions, if you plot a line graph of egg capacity distribution or cards by total food cost, for each number and for each expansion, everything is the same. But in the European expansion, for some reason, there's a disproportionately large number of birds that have 4 victory points.
It's really interesting, isn't it?
Can you see it?
Yeah.
So whereas every other expansion has around about 17 to 20% of birds have 4 victory points, that looks like 31% of birds in the European expansion have 4 victory points. It's a notable outlier.
It really is.
In the entire data set. And the other outlier is that European expansion has a significantly higher number of birds that have a total food cost of 2 rather than the other expansions. So over half of the birds in the European expansion have a 2 food cost, whereas it's more like 40% in the other expansions.
Yeah.
Why is that?
And that seems to also be at the cost of 1 food cost birds, right? So if you have a look at the 1 food cost birds, in the European expansion, about 15% of birds are 1 food cost, whereas in all the other expansions it seems to be about 30.
Why is that?
Yeah, it is interesting, isn't it? I mean, I don't have the answers, sadly, but it definitely is remarkable. I think that there are certainly, something I've noticed anyway, is that there are lots of 4-point birds in the game. And I think what really highlights this is the end of round goals, which are birds which are less than or equal to 3, or birds which are more than
4.
4.
Yeah.
So, that's correct, isn't it? So, essentially excludes 4-point birds from either of those end of round goals.
That is a hot take.
Whereas there is
that I can get on side with.
Jacob Brunner end of round goal, which is specifically birds that are worth 4 points. And I assume that the rationale behind that comes from that kind of gap, I suppose, in those two other end of round goals.
We're saying that the vast majority of birds cost 4 points.
They do.
But
that is clearly...
But the majority.
But the majority. As in, it's definitely it's the mode, isn't it, of the bird victory point birds. But I suppose what this data is demonstrating is Europe's responsible for that, really.
Europe is responsible for that. It does make me wonder about future expansions, though, because in the very first graph, you look at the teal round end power. So 25% of the Europe birds are the new power, which they introduced, teal round end powers. In the Oceania expansion, 16% of birds are yellow game end power birds. It does make me wonder with the new expansion that's going to be coming out next year, if they do introduce a new power colour, which there is lots of speculation about, and I think we will definitely come on to in a future episode, because I know there's lots of theories about this. If they do introduce a new power colour, the percentage of birds in that expansion that will need to be that new power colour to even shift the dial in the overall deck will need to be very high. Something like 40% of the birds, I would estimate, would need to be that new power colour. So let's say it's a 90 bird expansion again. We're talking 30 to 40 birds are going to need to be this new colour for it to even be noticeable in the major
not
deck.
Even more, really. Because it's it almost has to be the majority of birds in the
If you're going to introduce a new expansion, that whole expansion, half of it will be taken up with the new power. So watch this space, is what I'm saying. I'd be interested to see what Stonemaier are thinking with that.
And it's, I suppose, also that they're releasing this expansion off the back of a very recent release of a load of new fan powers, which are brown, white, pink, yellow, teal powers. So I suppose the reason I'm saying that is, if they are going to introduce a new power in the new expansion, I guess you can quite easily justify not having loads of birds that have those powers that are already in the game, because we just added a load of those. Yeah. So it's perfectly reasonable to add a load of bird powers with just a new type of power. Yeah,
and I suppose given Asia was billed as like you can buy this on your own, maybe this expansion will be you need the base game to play use this expansion. It probably will be, and so you could just say this expansion is effectively a new power expansion.
Yeah,
which I'd be there for.
I think particularly...
I mean, there's only so many brown powers you can have.
And off the back of not having a new power with Asia, that means we've not actually had the introduction of a new mechanic in the game since the Oceania expansion. And look, I thought the Asia expansion was great. It introduced some really cool new powers. It introduced some... I really like flock mode. Duet mode's all right. But... we've not had since Oceania the introduction of a new mechanic or a new type of bird power. So I think it's about time that we do.
Definitely.
And so that's what I hope for, and I would love to see it.
Should we save this for another week then?
Maybe this whole episode.
We've got episodes to talk about new expansions and speculate. Maybe we could park it there, and we can bring this to the table again in a few weeks' time. How about that? Okay, thanks for listening, everyone. If you like this and you want more, like and subscribe.
Please do.
As apparently you do, keep on sharing. Yeah. Apparently we are very shared. So that's very pleasing to hear. If you've got anything you want to say, leave a comment somewhere. We'll pick it up, or send us an email.
Yeah.
fulltuckpodcast@gmail.com. Like, subscribe, and share.
And we do love your interaction, whether it's about the opening hand reviews, which will be posted in the show notes and will be posted wherever you get your podcasts. So please do have a look for next week, and do let us know what you think, and we'll have a chat through your responses as well as talking through our own. And let us know what you think about anything we've said today, anything we've said on previous episodes. If you've got any questions, if you've got something you want us to talk about, or if you've got any thoughts on what the new powers might be for the next expansion, gives us some food for thought, and hopefully we can get your ideas on the show.
Cool. Back same time next week. Have a great week, guys.
See you soon, Vic.